This is Billy the Weather Guy live. There's a lot to talk about, so anyway, let's just get right into the weather.
Billy the Weather Guy.
Welcome back, everyone. Good morning and welcome to AMHQ Weekend. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf along with meteorologist Kelly Cass. And this just in, Hanna, now a Category 1 hurricane. Kelly, hard to believe.
Yeah, pressure has been dropping, and hurricane hunters and Doppler radar data is indicating that we now have our first hurricane of the season in the Atlantic Basin. So this is Hanna. Winds have been knocked up to 75 miles per hour because the pressure has been knocked down from 988 to 982 millibars. So the lower the pressure in the center, that usually means we'll see a strengthening system, and therefore the winds do increase. It is still moving to the west at about 9 miles per hour. Note the location, though. It's no longer over 100 miles away, but now 90 miles away.
How about that? It just strengthened into a hurricane.
From the coast of Texas here, east-northeast of Port Mansfield, Texas. So right now is the time to prepare and finish up those preparations, as the weather will be deteriorating rather quickly throughout the day today. We don't expect a landfall to occur until sometime late this afternoon toward the evening time frame, because this thing is slowing down, or is expected to slow down just before making a landfall. But note the winds by the time we get towards later on this afternoon could be as high as 80 miles per hour. So strengthening a little bit more before interacting with land. The wind speed goes down, but the rain totals, they go up. We are talking about a major flash flood threat along deep South Texas and into northern Mexico as well. Not just that, we've got the hurricane warnings, storm surge warnings in effect for the same general location. All these counties shaded in the purple definitely need to be ready for a hurricane. Tropical storm warnings in the red on either side of that. So tropical storm conditions are likely to be felt within this area. In fact, you can see the likelihood of those tropical storm winds. We're talking at least 40 mile per hour winds, and we're up in the 90th percentile here between Corpus Christi and Brownsville. So be prepared for power outages, road closures, especially with all the rain that we're expecting with this thing. Here's what we know at this hour. Expected to make a landfall as a hurricane. It is a hurricane now. It's going to slow down as it comes ashore, so that will increase the heavy rain threat and therefore the flood threat, not just at the coastline, but inland areas as well. Coastal flooding and the risk of deadly rip currents will increase.
Yeah, make sure, you stay safe. It's crazy,
For Texas, even Louisiana today, it's just too dangerous to get in the waters, especially over the southwestern coast. Here's a look at the way it plays out on our future radar. Note the rain bands extending to the north, as far north as Houston and Galveston, Victoria as well. But the worst of the wind right there near the center of circulation. And we're expecting a landfall anywhere between 4 o'clock this afternoon, perhaps as late as 7 or 8 o'clock. But again, it's going to be a nasty day here in deep South Texas.
So how about that? So yeah, there is a lot going on all of a sudden in the during hurricane season all of a sudden. So as you see here, all that stuff that the video just went over, that she just went over. So let's move on to Gonzalo.
And another area of concern this morning is in the southern Caribbean, where tropical storm Gonzalo is starting to affect the southern Windward Islands with strong winds and heavy rain. Fortunately, Gonzalo remains a very small, compact storm, which will limit the extent of the damage that we'll see with this. But again, we're talking about a tropical storm affecting some of these southernmost islands, and it's so early in the season. So, of course, we'll be watching Gonzalo as it continues that trek toward the west. We just got the newest advisory at 8 o'clock this morning Eastern time, still producing winds of 40 miles per hour, moving west at a pretty good clip. That's good news. It's moving at 18 miles per hour, so it's not just going to sit there and rain on some of these islands. So as you can see, it's going to weaken somewhat. Once it gets past Trinidad and Tobago, it basically moves just to the north of Venezuela, becoming a tropical depression as we head into the second half of the weekend. So those tropical storm force winds, they only extend out about 25 miles from the center, and it's kind of threading the needle here between Tobago and Trinidad, and even as far north as Grenada, likely to be feeling some impacts with this thing. But notice how the warnings have been taken down a little bit more toward the north, so no longer St. Vincent and the Grenadines are impacted or under tropical storm warnings. Here's a look at the tropical storm winds. The probability, it's actually pretty low, 20, 30%, maybe 40%, because this thing is so tiny, it's going to kind of move right between the islands here. And as Reynolds talked about, the heavy rain with these things, that can usually
not a big deal, but, each one of these storms, we're going to get to Douglas. Each one of these are affecting, places right now as we speak. So that's the crazy thing.
Be a bigger problem. And right now, we're not thinking it's going to be too much of a problem because it's moving right along. It's moving right along over warm water. Now, it's a little bit cooler right along the immediate coast of Venezuela here. But as you can see elsewhere across the Caribbean, it is like a hot tub out there, Reynolds, and it's already a very busy season.
How about that? Quite a busy season, yep. Yeah, so, yeah, it's just a lot. There's just a lot going on. I know this one's not too bad, Gonzalo, though. It's very small, like she said, so it's not like the power of it. It's not that strong, but like it's not affecting like a large amount of people at once. So anyway. Yeah, so let's move on to Douglas. Douglas is the first Eastern Pacific major hurricane of 2020. So, yeah, it'll gradually weaken as it hits Hawaii, as it gets closer. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video.
That's right, in Hawaii. Check it out. Ominous clouds over that city yesterday as Hurricane Douglas bears down on the Hawaiian island chain. Officials warning residents to find shelter with friends or family. There's a reason for it, because space in state shelters will be limited due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, this whole COVID thing, is making things a lot worse with hurricane season, because it's like we got to worry about COVID, but then there's all of a sudden these hurricanes or not a hurricane going on, whether it's a tropical storm or hurricane. Either way, it's going to do damage if it hits land, obviously.
Let's take a look at the latest from Douglas. Winds are 110 miles an hour, Category 2 storm. You see the pressure. It's moving west-northwest at 18 miles an hour. It is now about 485 miles east of Hilo, Hawaii. Now, the Hawaiian Islands are shaped the way they're shaped for two Earth processes.
This is quite a strong storm for Hawaii. They tend not to get these like intense storms because of the water temperature is a bit cooler, when compared to Florida, like the water sounding.
One hot spot on the ocean floor, but then another process we refer to as plate tectonics. The shape of the storm could be affected by two things. One, by eventually moving into an area with some shear, but also cooler ocean water. And with that, we see the potential of it weakening. You see from Saturday morning, we go into Saturday evening with winds of 85. Let's spring all the way into Monday with winds of 65. Then by Tuesday, going down to 50 miles per hour. As again, it enters cooler water and possibly some shear. But before then, it still poses problems for so many people that call this beautiful stretch of land the Hawaiian Islands home. Tropical storm warnings. We've got hurricane watches there too. Now, if this storm were to go a bit farther to the south, we might see bigger impacts in terms of heavy rainfall. However, still plenty of impacts from the tropical storm force winds. You see them here. And you have to know too that with wind spinning clockwise around the center of circulation, massive waves in places like Waimea Bay can be expected. Be careful. You stand on the shores, you see the waves come through. You've got one wave that comes through, can knock you off your feet, pull you back in the water, and you could be bad times. Flash flood watches, we've got those two that are listed throughout the islands. Orographic lift could cause some very heavy rainfall, but as it stands, Kelly, for now, the heaviest rainfall should be offshore. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, how about that? A lot going on. It's all of a sudden things just like heated up, So make sure you stay safe, make sure you're COVID safe, heat safe. It's going to get quite hot here, but yeah, hurricane ready and all that stuff. So there's also another area to watch in the Atlantic, so we're not even done talking about this. So let's get right into this as well.
This is another area that we're watching, a tropical wave that has a medium chance of development in the days ahead. That orange zone is the potential development area 5 days out. It's going to move off to the west with some gradual development as we go into early next week when it gets into the western Atlantic. But right now, all we have going on is a bunch of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Now, the I name, if we get there, is Isaias, which would be notable to get to the I name before August.
Yeah, it's been quite active,
If that does happen, we are heading into the peak of Atlantic hurricane season, which is officially in September. But clearly, we've already made a lot of headway in the Atlantic.
A lot of progress
for 2020.
Things are really heating up. So make sure, you stay safe out there. COVID safe, hurricane ready, and stay out of the heat because it's getting hot here all of a sudden. But that is it from me. Make sure you like this live stream if you thought it was good. Subscribe if you want to see more. Make sure the bell icon is on for the notifications. Make sure you're getting notified. I can't stress that enough. If you haven't seen my COVID report, well, it's not doing that well. So maybe you didn't get notified. I don't know. But make sure you check out the COVID report by clicking here. Thank you. And that is it for this live stream. So without further ado, your theme song, and I will see you next week. So,
Billy, the weather guy. I do the weather weekly. I also make a seasonal forecast, so you can be prepared for each season. Billy, the weather guy. Last week I live streamed to keep you in the know, so you can better prepare for every possibility. That has been Billy, the weather guy. Tune in weekly.